Hello and welcome to my presentation. For this assignment, I decided to write and present on Gary Shteyngart's Super Sad True Love Story, a book about a futuristic dystopia where an extreme emphasis is placed on the youthfulness and longevity of the human image. The main protagonist, Lenny Abramov, is a 39-year-old life preservation entrepreneur who is obsessed with the idea of eternal youth. The company that he works for is optimistic that they will be able to manufacture the technology necessary for the reconstruction of the human anatomy, essentially creating immortality. He is convinced that he will be able to live forever with these advancements, using the love from the woman of his dreams, Eunice Park, to sustain him. Eunice is a 24-year-old Korean woman whose youthful appearance, cruel mannerisms, and hot and cold affection attract Lenny to her like a moth to the flame. She has a history of being abused by her father and hides her true self from almost everyone, preferring instead to keep her relationships impersonal, which she reflects through her uncomfortableness while being courted by Lenny. Shteyngart uses both Lenny and Eunice to communicate the shortcomings of our current society, illuminating a range of pathologies attacking human nature in his envisioned world, which he compares to our own modern society. His society is modeled after our own weird society, borrowing our values of youthfulness, sex appeal, and explicit behavior, and cranking them up to 10 to show how empty and valueless our lives become the more we adhere to them. I first became invested in this topic once our class read up until Chapter 8, right after Lenny's interaction with his friends at the bar. There was something about the entire scene that really emulated our current society. I wasn't sure if it was the apparent addiction to technology that everyone in the bar conformed to, including Lenny's friends Noah and Vishnu, or the uncomfortable atmosphere of constant, affectionless lust that contributed to the similarity between this world and ours. And that was when it hit me. That was when I realized that these two similarities, the worship of technology and the removal of personal connection from intimacy, had something in common. They both are driven by the human desire for superficiality, a want of everything that made them feel good with no strings attached. There's a quote from Lenny's diary of this outing, and it captivates this realization perfectly. I tried to inculcate them with a love of the Roman arch, but the truth was, they didn't care. The world they needed was right around them, flickering and bleeping, and it demanded every bit of strength and attention they could spare. This quote really elaborates on how powerful and overbearing technology is in our weird society. It has this mesmerizing effect, especially on our younger generations, enticing them into hours upon hours of mindless browsing, shopping, chatting, fantasizing, you name it. Technology can get it or create it for you. It's this attractive characteristic of technology that gives it this authoritarian-like quality, this genie in a lamp, so to speak, that has the power to grant us this endless number of wishes. This is why we worship our phones in today's society. They provide us with a constant connection to the virtual world, making us mini deities that have the power to view, search, and purchase virtually anything that our mind desires. The argument that I'm looking to make is that there are two characteristics of our current weird society that equally afflict the human condition in Shteyngart's dystopian society and contribute to this epidemic of superficiality: the explicitness of overly sexual and vulgar human interaction, and our evolving addiction to technology. Shteyngart features these facets of human nature throughout the novel, especially through his descriptions of Eunice's shopping habits. He invents very provocative and explicit brand names for women's intimate wear, including Ass Doctor, Total Surrenders, and Juicy Pussy, that, when said out loud, make the average person do a double take. This seemingly R-rated content is meant to be alarming to the reader, as the shock that we receive from digesting this information is a wake-up call from Shteyngarт, who sees people in our own world interacting with each other in this same manner, less couth and more coarse pornographic behaviors. This is also seen through the shameless way that Eunice converses online with her friend Precious Pony, using extremely vulgar and scandalous diction as if it were an everyday conversation in public. Much of the language and abbreviations Shteyngart conjures up in these conversations are used in a satirical way. He uses them to joke about how unnatural the way these people communicate, both online and in person. But is he really joking? Shteyngart's background in humor helps stage his jokes as both ridiculous innuendos and serious philosophical queries. These jokes serve as a double-edged sword, as Terence Rafferty notes in his review of the book. The jokes, offhanded as they seem, accumulate a certain weight, the volume and suffocating mass of an oppressive, inhospitable culture. Who wants to live, even for a normal human span, inside a joke? The dogmatic reverence for individualism that Shteyngart harps on through this pathology is a very real concern in our world. It is now common for our younger generations to spend less and less time learning and interacting with the environment outdoors, and more time fantasizing on video games, mobile devices, and social networking sites. Our romantic relationships suffer from being treated like transactions through apps like Tinder and Bumble, both of which remove the emotional concept of relationships completely from the equation. These platforms make it easy for their participants to search for sexual satisfaction as if it were an ingredient in a recipe, which reduces the art of courting to a shopping experience where the product can be picked off a shelf at will by swiping right. This consumerist quality, at least from my own personal experiences, is what has conditioned people to justify the devaluing of human emotion. Shteyngart does give some thought as to how humanity can recover from this epidemic of superficiality, albeit a slim chance. He seems to suggest that traditional ways of living could heal or reverse this sickness. In particular, he mentions a return to nature, free of the judgments and cult of youth that haunt Lenny while he lives in America. The last chapter of the novel describes an older, cognizant Lenny who wishes to be free from the judgment that the exposure to data and young people bring about. He ends up moving to Canada, of all places, where he appreciates the beauty and simplicity of life away from the country that despises its elders and treats them with contempt. His last words in the novel convey exactly what he wishes for, most after spending his entire life surrounded by media and both physical and emotional distress. Silence, black and complete. Here are my list of references for this assignment. I would highly recommend going to check out Terrence's review of Gary Shteyngart's Super Sad True Love Story. It's very insightful and gives a really good look into the consumerism that plagues our current society. Thank you, and have a great day.